A news report on News 24 by investigative reporter Kyle Cowan and his colleague Sipho Masondo has the headline, Mashatile under pressure. Hawks public protector, now SIU, probe cases linked to the deputy president. Kyle joins us now. Kyle, good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. Thanks for having me.
There is a new investigation, but before we get to that, just fill the listeners in on the investigations which have been going on. We don't know with what success for a while.
Yeah, so obviously, News 24 started a major investigation into Paul Mashatile in 2023, and we've been consistently publishing alongside our sister publication, Netwerk, who's also published something. So what the result of that has been, quite a few complaints to the public protector, as well as a criminal complaint by the Democratic Alliance, relating to some of these things. So earlier this year, we were able to confirm that the Hawks are investigating the source of funds used to buy a 28 million rand house in Constantia. This was bought by Mr. Mashatile's son-in-law, Mr. Neba Nonkwelo, and we reported at the time that we believe Mr. Mashatile would have use of the house. Additionally, the public protector is investigating contracts awarded to a company linked to Mr. Mashatile's two sons, Mr. Tinyiko Mbalase and Mr. Tabiso Mashatile. Now, those are contracts awarded by the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development. Netwerk 24 first brought those to light. Quite significant contracts in some cases. There are values of between 12 and 25 million rand. And now, of course, the SIU has been authorized by the president to also investigate, the Gauteng Department of Human Settlements. And the investigation will cover one specific project, one specific housing development, but the time period is important here. It was while Mr. Mashatile was MEC, before he went to Luthuli House in early 2018.
And then the new addition to the raft?
Yeah, so this SIU investigation covers the Siselo Shiseka informal settlement. It's in Everton, just south of Johannesburg. And there have been, quite a number of issues with housing developments there over many, many years. From what we can gather, the president has now said, look, he wants the SIU to look into a very narrow issue. There was supposed to be an ablution block built, and then there was plans for 720 walk-up housing units, but the initial part of the contract was only for 180, and nothing really has happened in that project, but millions have been spent over quite a few years. So the SIU will now be looking into that, and what our report is setting out is that during the time period when Mr. Mashatile was MEC, this is one of the many projects that would have fallen under his purview, that he would have been responsible for. And now he will likely be drawn into that investigation, as well as people that he had appointed at the time to say, look, give us information here. You will possibly be interviewed by the SIU. There's many, many issues around housing projects such as these that require intensive investigation.
Kyle, I suspect people who are sympathetic to Paul Mashatile would say, come on, he's hardly central to any of these cases. The sort of smoking gun thing, if it is to be found, is going to be found in the study of somebody else, not him. He is, at best, a sort of in-the-wings actor on this.
Yeah, yes, and that's an argument that has been made before, but, the counter to that, in my opinion, is that all of these contracts, and this is what we've successfully shown this in numerous stories that we've published on News 24, is that whenever Mr. Mashatile arrives at a department, his friends and his connections seem to do well. He has a history of appointing, very close friends of his to senior government positions. Take, for example, Mr. Keith Khoza, his current spokesperson. In almost every department, and I say almost every department where Mr. Mashatile has obtained a position in Gauteng, Mr. Khoza has, been given a job, or one of his other friends, or part of the so-called Alex Mafia, have been given a job. And inevitably what happens is that then there's question marks around contracts and the flow of money and so on and so forth. And we are arguing that there is never smoke without fire. And also it just seems highly unlikely that people are suddenly having a great success in their businesses when, someone in their family, a member of their family, has these very senior political positions, and that there's nothing there to investigate and nothing to say, that there might be something wrong here. Mr. Mashatile, unfortunately, has not come out to counter any of this very successfully. His response to us was just along the lines of, he wouldn't interfere in any investigation or that sort of thing. But, I'll draw this back to Mr. Nonkwelo, the 28 million rand house in Constantia that was purchased. It's one of two properties that were purchased around about the same time in last year. And the other property was a 37 million rand house in Waterfall up in Johannesburg. And this is while Mr. Nonkwelo owes the Gauteng government, the Gauteng Partnership Fund, 7 million rand for a failed housing project. And our argument is that how is it possible that this can be allowed, that no one is taking action against him? And the only response that we are getting is that there appears to be strong political influence on Mr. Mashatile's side.
Kyle Cowan of News 24, thank you.